All right,
again.
There we go. So, explain to me, what is the difference in process when it comes to putting together a preps issue versus, say, a football, hockey, or basketball issue?
I think the big thing is to try to find subject matter, athletes, people, teams that everyone can relate to. You know, if you're a parent of a high school kid and there's a story about your kid, you're going to read it. But how many of those kids are out there where everybody's interested? I think the preps issue is always my favorite. Year in, year out, it's always the one I enjoy putting together the most. Kind of goes back to my childhood. My dad worked in high school sports. I kind of grew up on press row, being babysat during state tournaments, and watching some of my heroes when I was a kid were prep athletes. So I think this issue to me always means something, and I think as long as you have high school sports, it's going to mean something to your community, which is why it's always meant something to Mile High Sports.
So Derrick White on the cover, obviously, you know, him in a variety of different jerseys, pro, high school, college, and whatnot. How did you end up on Derrick White being the cover athlete this go around?
Well, Derrick White's just had a tremendous path to where he's at now, and it's one of the more interesting stories that I can think of in Colorado sports, really. But he was back this summer putting on his kids' basketball camp, the third time he's done so, and he was coming off being in the NBA Finals. So I thought this is a great time to feature a local product that has gone on to do great things in his profession, but also coming back and giving back to the community. Lots of people will tell you that the athlete that they work with, whether they're a writer or photographer or whatever, that athlete was great to work with, that they were humble, enjoyable to be around. But I think Derrick White's on a different level. I think when you look at this cover, it's really fun because a picture tells 1,000 words, and this one, it does exactly that. I mean, you start out with Derrick White in his Legend jersey. When Derrick White was at Legend High School, he was always a good player, but he was so undersized that nobody thought that he was going to be what he is today. So he goes from being this skilled but small player to a Division II school, grows 4 inches between his senior year and his freshman year in college. And he's good, but there's a lot of good Division II players that don't necessarily go on to do what he's done. Ultimately decides to transfer by the time he's a senior, but he has to sit out a year. So he falls off the radar even more. Then when he's at CU, people start to see, man, this guy can play, but he's there for such a short amount of time that he's still not front and center. He's not a headline. So I don't think that he's ever grown up in any kind of a celebrity capacity, and it certainly shows now. I mean, he talks to people like he's one of the guys. He talks to kids with great respect. He talks to adults with great respect. He's just a nice guy to be around. So the fact that he shined in the NBA Finals for the Boston Celtics, one of the biggest brands in all of sports, it just sort of fully encapsulates his entire story.
So talk about some of the parallels with this cover of the preps issue compared to one that was previously done with Chauncey Billups.
I think when you look at the history of our high school cover, this concept of an athlete that's gone on to do something, going back and wearing his high school jersey, it's not brand new. And it all goes back to this cover, where we had Chauncey Billups wearing his number 4 jersey from George Washington High School. And now when you ask somebody else to do that, they all say yes, because Chauncey did it.
How much responsibility do you feel to kind of continue along with high school sports coverage with the magazine as well as what we're doing with Colorado Preps?
I feel like high school sports, at the end of the day, is the thread that makes up the community. I mean, if you don't have high school sports, if you don't have kids growing up playing sports, you don't have fans of the Nuggets or the Broncos or the Rockies. So I think the high school sports, to me, is always going to be important. This issue is always my favorite, and it will always be one of the pieces that we come out with every year in our publication calendar.
For people out there in Colorado, Doug, why should people pick up this issue of Mile High Sports Magazine?
This is our best issue every year. I mean, it covers it all. We have stars, we have kids, we have a list that people will argue about. There's no better issue in our publishing calendar than the Preps issue.